Thank you for coming. I have with me Acting Seal Beach Police Chief Tim Olsen. October 12, 2011 is a day that should never have been visited upon the peaceful community of Seal Beach, California. The people of our community were made victims of a bloody massacre by a methodical and merciless killer. In a selfish, cruel act of senseless violence, 8 innocent people were murdered. A 9th remains in critical condition. The lives of the victim's family and friends will be forever changed, with a missing place in their hearts and a missing chair at their Thanksgiving dinners. I've charged Scott Dekraai with 8 felony counts of special circumstance first-degree murder. The special circumstances for multiple murders. He's also charged with 1 felony count of attempted murder. The defendant is being held without bail and is scheduled to be arraigned this afternoon. We're continuing to investigate this case, but we believe at this point what the evidence will show that on Wednesday afternoon at about 1:20 p.m., Dekraai is accused of walking into the Salon Meritage in Seal Beach prepared to commit murder. Wearing a bulletproof vest and armed with 3 firearms, he walked through the salon shooting anyone close enough to hit. He stopped to reload during this spree, and he continued gunning people down. He was not satisfied with murdering his intended target, his ex-wife. For almost 2 minutes, Dekraai shot victim after victim, executing people by shooting them in the head and chest. He shot 8 people inside the salon, but he was not done. He then walked out of the salon and shot a 9th victim, a male, who was sitting nearby in a parked Range Rover. The reason for this rampage? Revenge. We believe that the defendant committed this unimaginable act of violence because he wanted to kill his ex-wife over a custody dispute concerning their 8-year-old son. He was willing to end any life in his path, and he did. Clearly, this 2-minute murder spree could not have been about loving his son. The 8 irreplaceable lives, Dekraai callously snuffed them out like they were collateral damage. We will not forget any one of these people. Their lives matter. We will seek justice for the life of each of these individuals to the best of our ability. Each deceased victim was living a unique, special life and was loved by his or her friends and family. Each will be remembered by their loved ones long after the justice system has run its course. I'd like to take a moment to recognize each of these victims who lost their lives in this horrific crime. "54-year-old salon employee Victoria Buzo. 64-year-old David Cowett, who was in the vehicle outside. 46-year-old salon employee Laura Alady. 62-year-old salon owner Randy Fannin. 47-year-old salon employee Michelle Fast. 48-year-old salon employee Michelle Fournier, the defendant's ex-wife. 65-year-old salon client Lucia Condis. 47-year-old salon employee, Christy Lynn Wilson. I'd also like to recognize 73-year-old victim, Harriet Stretz, who's in critical condition. She was at the salon that afternoon getting her hair done by her daughter, Laura Elodie, who was murdered. This was a senseless murder spree where 9 people were mowed down by a lone gunman. And while Dekraai rampaged through a hair salon shooting at innocent victims, the son that he professed to love was sitting in the principal's office. Waiting for his mom or dad to pick him up. Well, that little boy is a victim. Now his mother has been murdered. And he has to grow up knowing that his dad is a mass murderer. So, what kind of sick, twisted fatherly love might that be? In most special circumstance cases, I convene a committee to review the facts, to go over the aggravating and the mitigating circumstances, to get very experienced deputy DAs and assistants to give advice on what the aggravating and mitigating circumstances might be and whether or not we should seek a death penalty. But there are some cases that are so depraved and so callous and so malignant that there's only one punishment that might have any chance of fitting the crime. And the committee process is just not necessary here. When a person in such a case as this goes on a rampage and kills innocent people in an indiscriminate bloody massacre, I will of course seek the death penalty. The circumstances of this case are so terrible and incomprehensible that aggravating factors overwhelm any mitigating factor that has any likelihood of being raised in a case like this. Accordingly, I will seek the penalty of death against Scott Evan Dekraai for the intentional, methodical murders of Victoria Buzo, David Cowett, Laura Elodie, Randy Fannin, Michelle Fast, Michelle Fournier, Lucia Condis, and Christy Wilson. And we'll try him also for the attempted murder of Harriet Stretz. This is the only way that our society can have anything approaching justice for these people, their families, the town of Seal Beach, and the larger community that we live in. In the upcoming months, the public will be trying to make some kind of sense out of this horrific crime. When good people see evil, they try to reconcile why a person would do such an incomprehensible thing. This mass murder, understand, will never be understood. We'll make sure that each victim will be remembered, and we'll make sure that we seek justice for each individual person. Acting Chief Tim Olsen has a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Rackauckas. My thoughts and prayers continue to go out to the victims, their families, their friends, and their loved ones. I would like to thank the Orange County District Attorney's Office, the Orange County Sheriff, as well as all the other federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies that have assisted the Seal Beach Police Department with the investigation of this crime. And I would especially like to thank all the men and women of the Seal Beach Police Department. I am extremely proud of our responding officers who, within 30 seconds of receiving 911 information, were able to locate and arrest Scott Dekraai. I would like to acknowledge our team of investigators who have literally been working around the clock to gather all the evidence needed to prosecute Dekraai. Scott Dekraai is a coward. He armed himself with 3 handguns and wore body armor because he did not want to be shot by the police. This coward entered Salon Meritage, shooting 9 people, murdering 8. This coward then fled the scene and surrendered because he did not want confrontation. This coward has left children without parents, parents without children, husbands without wives, wives without husbands. This coward has left brothers without sisters, sisters without brothers, and this coward has left many of us without dear friends. I am both saddened and angry, and the community is saddened and angry that this lone coward and his cowardly act has so deeply impacted the city that I love and that so many of us love. I would like to thank everyone who has offered their support to the City of Seal Beach and to the Seal Beach Police Department. Seal Beach is a resilient community. I would like to personally thank the thousands who attended the candlelight vigil last evening. And as we begin as a community to heal, this coward will be brought to justice. Thank you.
If you have any questions, we can try to deal with those.
Tony, did Dekraai see anything inside of the salon when he was shooting?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Did Scott Dekraai say anything during the shooting spree when he was firing at everyone inside of the salon?
I don't have any information about anything that he might have said. Yes.
You say he had 3 handguns. Did he use all 3? Did one didn't have any of them?
We know that he used at least 2.
Any idea on the number of shots fired?
Do you know that?
I do not have that information. Numerous.
Has he been cooperating with police?
Yes, he has.
Is there any information that he was headed to his son's school to continue his rampage there?
No. The question is whether or not there's any information that he was headed to his son's school to continue his rampage there. The answer is no.
You said his son was in the principal's office. Is that because school was over and he was waiting for someone to pick him up, or was he sick that day?
School was over. He was waiting for a ride home.
Do we know where Michelle Fournier was in the salon? Was she one of the first shot, or was she in the back and he just made his way through shooting to get to her?
Yeah, my understanding is that she was either the first or one of the first ones shot.
That is correct. She was in the front of the salon.
Sir, you seem visibly shaken today. You just talked about how hard it is even for law enforcement and prosecutors in this case to comprehend what happened.
You know, these are real people. And they were really murdered, so that's it.
Was he under the influence of alcohol or any substance at the time?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Was he under the influence? Do you know if he was under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time?
We don't have any evidence to that effect. The question is whether or not he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time. And at this point, we have no evidence that would indicate that.
Tony, some friends said that the wife had a restraining order, others just said there was a court order in place on the custody issue. Do you have more information about that, whether there had been a restraining order?
Our information is that, the question is whether or not there was a restraining order. Our information is that there was not a restraining order in place at the time. There had been an attempt to get a restraining order or some preliminary process to get a restraining order in '07, and that was not completed.
And that was out of LA County?
Yes, Long Beach.
And Tony, we had also heard from people at the scene that Randy kind of goes along with the type of man that he was, that he was trying to protect people inside of the salon when Dekraai came in. Can you tell us anything about that?
I don't have any evidence about that, but I did hear that, and that's certainly very plausible. But we don't have that evidence at this point. Yes, ma'am.
You said that the motivation was revenge. Do you believe the revenge was strictly limited to his ex-wife, or do you believe that he wanted to seek revenge against people she worked with in the salon? There's some reports that maybe they had supported her in the custody dispute. Can you tell us what you know about that?
Yes, we believe that the motivation was because of his anger towards his ex-wife and the anger about the custody battle that they were having, and that he also considered the people who were friends and who worked with his ex-wife as enablers, and he didn't have much use for them either.
Why was that? I mean, why was that? Was it something that they did specifically support her in the custody dispute?
I don't think I could get into the reasoning any better than that.
You said he is talking to authorities. Did he say anything why he shot other people other than his ex-wife?
The acting police chief did not say he was talking to authorities. I think the question was whether he was cooperative, and we're not able to discuss that.
Were the guns registered to him? Were they legal?
Yes, the guns were legally possessed by him.
What types of guns were they? What types of guns?
The 3 guns, we have that.
It was a Springfield 9mm, a Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, and a H&K 45 caliber.
Did you find any information about or any evidence that there was any threat made preceding this, or did he just go off and do this without giving any indication to anyone or any kind of sign that somebody would have thought he would be up to something like this?
The question is whether or not we have any evidence of any threats prior to the actual act of going to the salon and committing these murders. No, we don't.
What about any expressions of fear from his ex-wife's part, or we've heard some of that from some of her friends, but anything you guys have learned that she may have had any indication he was up to something like this?
Whether or not, the question is whether we have learned that his ex-wife had any fear that he might be up to something such as this, and we have not learned anything of that nature at this point. But like I say, the investigation is still ongoing, and those are the kinds of facts that often take a while to develop.
Did you find any kind of note or any indication he had planned this out, or did he leave any information? You said he was a coward, didn't plan on dying in this, but did he leave any note or anything like that for police to find afterwards?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
I haven't heard anything about any notes or any messages that he might have left.
Do you know how much planning in this? Any evidence of that?
Well, certainly significant planning based on how everything happened. The bulletproof vest, the guns, all that.
Is this son in protective custody, or whereabouts in family, and has he been informed?
The question is whether he's in protective custody, and I don't know the answer to that. He's in the custody of the sheriff, and certainly they're guaranteeing his welfare.
The son is safely with family members.
Family members.
Yes.
Is it the planning that constitutes the special circumstances for pursuing the death penalty in the first-degree murder? Is it the planning that he did? You said there was a special circumstance.
that constitutes the special circumstance?
Yeah.
The question is whether or not it's his planning that constitute the special circumstance. It's the special circumstance is multiple murder. So if more than one person is murdered, either first or second degree, then that raises a special circumstance of multiple murder. And that's what we have alleged here.
Has this arraignment date been set yet?
He'll be in court this afternoon, I believe at 1:30 for an arraignment.
So the three,
Yes, here.
Does he have a lawyer?
I'm not aware, the question is, does he have a lawyer? I'm not aware that he has one at this point.
the three weapons, he was carrying those three when he shot up the salon, correct? Did he
Yes.
use all three?
We know that he used at least two.
And were there other weapons in the vehicle?
There were, the three weapons that I mentioned previously were the weapons recovered in the vehicle. No other weapons were there.
Or in the home?
I don't think we can answer that yet.
How about the ammunition? Is there any kind of special ammunition?
Have you interviewed his wife,
All right.
his wife?
The question was about whether or not there's any special ammunition. But the ammunition had to be specialized to fit the weapons, but do you mean like, other than that, more deadly?
I'm not aware that it was any type of special ammunition.
How many bullets were fired? Do we know that?
I don't think we know. We don't know how many bullets were fired, but we do know that that the victims were shot multiple times each, and so we don't have that as far as the total number of bullets fired. We don't know that yet.
Did anyone know of his planning?
Pardon
Did
me?
anyone know of his plans?
Did anyone know of his plan? We have no information that anyone knew of his plan.
Have you interviewed his wife?
You mean his present wife?
Yes.
I don't
The
know.
investigation is continuing. I know we have been in contact with his current wife.
Do you have any more information about a history of mental illness, prior diagnosis of bipolar disorder?
Certainly, we'll be getting more information about that as the process continues.
But at this point, you don't have any information?
At this point, it would be so preliminary, it wouldn't be helpful. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any eyewitnesses come forward? And it doesn't sound like anybody was actually represented in the salon or near the salon who actually saw this. And can you describe at all what the salon was like after he left?
There were people in the salon who were not killed and who were not shot, and there were people outside the salon, and more than one of whom saw and heard various things. So all of those witnesses are, of course, have been interviewed.
How many people were in the salon who were not shot?
But I think we had about 20 people in the salon total.
Can you give us any more information on how they survived? We heard some may have played dead or hidden in back rooms.
Well, those kinds of things did happen that you mentioned, playing dead, hiding in back rooms, trying to get behind things, and just trying to stay out of his way. And I think as the evidence moves forward, those details will come out in much more detailed fashion.
How recently he purchased the guns and the body armor?
The question is, how recently did he purchase the guns? And I don't know that, but I don't think he recently purchased them. So what do we know about that?
I don't have any information on that.
Chief, you said the officers were on the scene in 30 seconds from the time of the first 911 call. Do you know what alerted them to Mr. Dekraai?
Good witnesses. One of the 911 callers was able to provide it was very good witnesses who reported to 911 a very detailed vehicle description, which as he was leaving the parking lot, one of our officers was able to locate him, like I said, within 30 seconds.
And he pulled over the site in response to the red lights and siren?
Yes, he yielded very quickly as soon as our officers pulled in behind him.
Chief, where exactly was that? They said it was about half a mile away. Do you know which direction from the salon?
He was stopped on Central Avenue between Main Street and 12th Street, which would be 2 blocks.
And Chief, to your knowledge, have your officers had any prior contact with Dekraai?
We had previous contact with Dekraai.
Can you go into that a little bit, please?
We had taken reports within the previous 2 months of a visitation violation involving the custody of the child.
Who was the violator in that one?
That would have been the suspect.
And Mr. Collette, when he was shot, do you know any more? Was there an exchange between the two?
I don't really have any more information on the motive of why he shot Mr. Collette.
Did he say anything upon arrest, spontaneously to the officers who pulled him over? Did he make any utterances whatsoever?
He did not make any utterances to the crime, only that he was extremely cooperative in surrendering.
Did he appear as if he wanted to be arrested, like he expected to be arrested and pulled over rather than?
Yes. As soon as our officers pulled in behind him, he yielded very quickly and immediately put his hands up and complied with all our orders.
Did it appear from what you heard that he expected and wanted to be arrested? Did he have anything?
It appeared to me that he wanted to avoid any confrontation with police and was very compliant.
Did he have anything on him that would indicate he was going to flee somewhere and he bought the cash?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, Chief, can you back up, please? You said that you had taken previous reports. How many reports? And can you go into a little bit more detail? Did Ms. Fournier call the police?
To the best of my knowledge, we have taken one report. And that report was for a violation of visitation. It involved him picking up the child, I think, earlier than the court order mandated. And that was reported by Ms. Fournier.
It was her picking up the child, or was it him picking up the child?
He picked up the child.
He picked up the child from,
Was it from the salon? Was this?
I believe it was from school.
And when was that?
I don't have the exact date. It was several months ago.
What happened as a result of that? What was the report on, or how does that work?
As a result of that, it is forwarded to family court. And I from once it is released to them, I'm not sure what the disposition, if any, has occurred.
But you have had no calls, concerns from anyone in that center or that salon about any kind of stalking incidents, any kind of threats being made toward his ex-wife or any employees?
Not that I'm aware of.
and have you any reports dating back further involving Mr. Dekraai? There's sort of some people who knew him who said he had called, there was a 911 call, responsible for trying to harm himself. This is now a number of years ago.
If we did, I do not have that information.
Is that family court in Orange County? You had mentioned that there was a TRO sought in Los Angeles County. Were you working with Orange County courts or LA County courts, you know? In regard to the
In this instance, it was Orange County Court.
And can you?
I can clarify that a little bit, though. In 2007, there was an incident that it took place in Long Beach, and his stepfather applied for a temporary restraining order, and as I understand it, didn't follow up on that afterwards. So it was a temporary restraining order that was not made permanent.
So, was there violence alleged against that stepfather?
I don't know anything else about the incidents, about that particular incident. I just know pretty much what I just said.
And Captain Olsen, can you give us a little bit more detail about when he entered the salon? Where did he beeline for Michelle Fournier, shooting employees and clients as he moved along to the different stations? Can you just give us a brief description, please?
From my understanding, Michelle Fournier was towards the front of the salon, and that she was one of the first two victims that were shot. It was from that point that he then continued his rampage, shooting people.
Who was
And
the
who
other?
did he
Oh,
hit
one of the two.
next?
You said it was one of the first two. Who was the other one?
I'm sorry, I don't have the name of who one of the first two victims was.
Was she getting her hair washed at the time? There was a report she was getting her hair washed.
I don't have that information.
Or if you could give a little bit more description, what were people doing? Were they running? Were they standing?
The salon itself is very small, and I don't know what the victims were doing in the time, other than, as one might imagine, that it was a very chaotic situation where people were trying to protect themselves, and some people were trying to flee.
Is there surveillance video inside?
No, there's not.
Was he using one gun at a time? Do you know if he unloaded one before he started using the other gun?
I do not know that.
And do you know which of the two guns he used? I'm sorry, which of the three guns he used? You stated earlier 2 of 3 guns were used.
I'm not sure of which 2 of the 3 he used.
Will you be releasing 911 calls?
We will be working with the district attorney's office. Like I said, our investigation is still ongoing, and when we reach a point, we will release some.
There was not an earlier pursuit, chief, in the day with the suspect. Was there a short pursuit, and Seal Beach didn't end up catching the suspect? Same vehicle description?
No, there was not.
Did the suspect try to initiate contact with his ex-wife the morning of the shooting? Through like trying to meet up or texting?
They did have contact the morning of the shooting.
Can you describe that contact?
I don't have the explicit details of the contact, only that it did involve the custody of their child.
Were there problems in that conversation? Had they argued, which would have perhaps set him off?
I'm not aware that anything in that conversation is what set him off.
The difficulty at this point is that we're sort of guessing, and we believe that the custody battle wasn't going well for him. But we don't know the contents of their conversation or anything.
Do you know if it was phone contact or in-person contact that morning?
Do you know if there was?
No, I don't think we can give that information.
Do you know if anything relevant happened in the Tuesday hearing that upset him? Because they're both in court on Tuesday together. Was there anything significant happening tonight?
The difficulty is that I don't want to be guessing, and but our belief at this point is that hearing didn't go very well for him, and I think that's about as far as we can get with it.
Tony, is the plan at this point for you to prosecute this case? Will you be the prosecuting attorney, or will you assign someone?
No, we'll have a trial team, and it's going to be Dan Wagner and Scott Simmons. They will lead the trial team, and of course their support as necessary.
Most of the victims were stylists. Is there any evidence he pointed at some and not at others, or aimed at somebody and didn't shoot at them? Or was he just shooting people randomly?
I'm not able to answer that question.
We're going to have to get through the evidence in a lot more detail before we can answer that kind of question. But, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.